Hey everybody, this week's video, I wanted to do a special video, something I haven't done before. It's a crisis here in Florida. We had Hurricane Ian hit in Fort Myers, and I just wanted to take this week to dedicate the video to trying to help the people of Fort Myers and the surrounding areas that are suffering from the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. So let's get to that. So I'm going to have two parts to this video. The first part is just going to be a little shout out to the people of Fort Myers and the surrounding areas. A shout out to anyone watching this on video that you would donate and help out to help the people of Florida to rebuild and to recover from this tragic event. And the second part of this video is because I have a lot of people that watch this video that are considering moving to Florida that maybe don't know a lot about hurricanes and what to do to prepare for a hurricane, and so I'm going to also talk about that. But first I want to talk about Hurricane Ian. Again, what a tragedy. That's one of the strongest hurricanes to hit Florida in a very, very long time. It had winds of 150-mile-an-hour sustained winds. It was a Category 4 hurricane, but the worst part of it was the storm surge. I don't think anyone was quite prepared for the amount of storm surge that there was. There was so much water, so much rain, over 7 feet in the Fort Myers area. There were other areas where it was 12 to 18 feet. So that is really unfathomable. I mean, I'm 6 feet tall, so that means, two of me plus in some areas. It's really hard for, I think, anyone to even imagine. So the losses were devastating, 87 deaths, not to mention the billions of dollars of losses in property damages. So Florida, we need help here in Florida. And so I'm just calling out to everyone that might be watching that you would step up to the plate, that you would help out, that you would make a donation. I've got several organizations here. If you're not sure where to donate, I'm going to go over those now. So first and foremost, if you're not able to donate any monetary or your time, what you could do is to donate blood. That is always something that is running low, and particularly in a situation like this. So if you're not able to do anything else, if you could at least make it to a donation station for blood and donate some blood. The next thing you could do would be American Red Cross. So that they are there on the ground. They need your support. The people of Fort Myers and all those surrounding areas that just have absolutely nothing left. If you could just see it in your heart, every little bit that you can donate is going to help. So you've got the Salvation Army, you've got American Red Cross. Those are two very well-known charity organizations that your money is going to be put to good use with either of those. Now there's also a Florida-specific the Florida Disaster Relief Fund. If you wanted to donate to that, you can do that at volunteerflorida.org. Now that is also a website that you can go to if you happen to be here local in the area, or you're not in the area but are willing to come to the area. You can sign up there to go and help volunteer, hands-on kind of thing. If you're not able to do that though, of course your money definitely helps. Last but not least is the Save the Children. So many children were really, really affected by this. So many families, so many pets, and so, there's just so many different ways you can donate. So not only what I'm mentioning here today, you can definitely do your research and donate wherever you see fit. But I know that these organizations that I'm talking about now have very good ratings. Their money is being put to good use. And the last one that I'm going to plug would be the SaveTheChildren.org. So Salvation Army, American Red Cross, VolunteerFlorida.org, or SaveTheChildren.org. Those would all be fantastic places where you could donate either your money or your time to come out and help the people of Florida rebuild. So yes, I just appreciate each and every one of you, and anyone that can donate. That's just really going to help people out. Also, I said the second part of this video is going to be for people that are considering moving to Florida and maybe are a little bit freaked out now that they've been watching the news for a while. Hurricanes, yes, that is a natural disaster here in Florida. Yes, you need to be educated, and yes, you need to be prepared. So the last part of this video, I'm going to talk to you about being prepared and what you can do to be ready for a hurricane once you've made the move here to the great state of Florida. So I live in Tampa. Luckily, we were spared this time around, but you just never know when the time is going to come when it's your turn. Many say that there is a native blessing on Tampa, and that's why we haven't had a hurricane in so long. I'm going to knock on something. It's been over 90 years since we've had a direct hit, but I will tell you we do get a lot of very, very strong storms here. Hurricane season is from the beginning of June through the end of November. We get torrential rains in the summer months and a lot of tropical storms that come through. So even if we don't get a hurricane, you definitely need to be prepared. So some of the things that you can do would be, number one, always be informed. And when people tell you that it's time to evacuate, when the governor or the mayor are on the news and they're saying that it's your zone to evacuate, you need to know what zone you live in. First of all, that's very easy to find out. But if you are living closer to the water, those are going to be the areas that are going to be evacuating first, zones A and B. If you live inland, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be okay, at least from the storm. But what can happen is still the torrential rain and some flooding that does tend to happen in certain low-lying areas, which you need to be aware of that. And if you're told to evacuate, you need to do so. So I know I am guilty myself of not evacuating sometimes in the past. I think now that I've seen what has happened with Fort Myers, it really woke up a lot of us here that have been maybe grown a little complacent when you see that, hey, that was so close. I mean, less than 100 miles away, just a little turn that the storm made, and it could have been right here in Tampa, and we could be suffering those same consequences that all those people there are suffering. So it's definitely not worth it. If you stay and then you end up, you don't want to die, right? It's not worth dying over just so you can stay in your house. Yes, it's inconvenient to go stay in a hotel. Yes, it's inconvenient to throw everything that you think is important to you and try to get that into your car and leave and not know, what's going to happen. It's scary, I get it, but you need to listen to those evacuation orders. And if you're not in a situation where you need to evacuate, you still need to be prepared, because if you're going to be home, and even if a storm doesn't directly hit you, a lot of times you could be without power for a very long time. We've had times here in Florida where people in Tampa were without power for over a week. So some of the things you want to do to get ready if you think that there might be some fallout from a storm: number one, you don't want to do it the day before the storm. If you go to Walmart, there's not any water anywhere on any of the shelves. It's sold out. If you go to Publix, our local grocery store here, the shelves are wiped clean. So you don't want to be that person that's panicked there saying, oh, the storm is coming and I have no water for my family. You want to be prepared, and you want to do that in the months when it's not hurricane season, when there's not the threat of a storm, where it's going to be easy for you to stock up on those. You want to have water, enough water for your family for at least a minimum of 3 or 4 days. You want to make sure you have that stored and ready. Great thing about water is it's not going to go bad, so you can keep it in your storage room, in your attic, wherever you need to keep it, you can keep it, and it's going to last you a long time. You might want to every year swap it out, kind of thing. That's usually what we do. We buy it and then we donate it somewhere, and then next year we'll buy it again if we don't use it all up. The other thing that you definitely want to have is food. That is a tough one because we tend to shop every week or every few days. I think a lot of people don't really store a lot of food. So you want to make sure that you have enough food for your family, for your pets. If you have an infant, you want to make sure you've got infant formula to last, a week is a very good rule of thumb to follow. So it also needs to be non-perishable food, because there is a very high likelihood that you're not going to have any power. So you want to think like canned goods, ramen, noodles, those kind of things that will keep for a very long time, that you don't have to have refrigerated. The other thing you want to remember when you're stocking up on this food, a lot of people buy a lot of canned goods and then they forget that they use an electric can opener, I should say. So make sure you have one of those manual old-fashioned kinds. I gotta tell you, my daughter doesn't even know how to use one of those. So make sure you know how to use one of those. So if you ever need it, you're prepared for that. The other thing is batteries. You need to have batteries because you need to have flashlights. You need to have a way to have light in the dark. You need to have either candles with lighter or matches. You need to have batteries and flashlights. You need to have backup batteries for your cell phones. So, most of us don't even have a house phone anymore. So you need to make sure that you have a way to charge your cell phone. What a lot of us here in Florida have is a generator. So even if you live in a condo or a townhome and maybe you don't have room, maybe you don't have a garage, they do make smaller generators that are almost like made out of a battery, like a Tesla type of battery that you can buy now. It's a very good idea to have one of those. Or if you live in a single family home, you can have those older style gas generators. Those would be great. And also a lot of people just buy a backup generator for their home that actually runs on gas. So that's not a bad idea here in the state of Florida because you just never know when a storm's going to be hit and you might be left without electricity. And of course you want to have a good, very well-stocked first aid kit in the event that you need to hunker down and stay home for, a week or so. So make sure that you have access to that as well. The last two things that I'm going to include is medicines. If you take any kind of medication, if a storm is coming your way, you definitely want to get to the pharmacy well in advance of that and make sure that you have enough supply of your prescription medications, medications for your family, pets, all of that to make it through the storm, and cash. So if we have no electricity, then the ATMs are not going to be working. So you're definitely going to need a way to buy stuff. Now, I don't know how that's actually going to work because I don't know if you've gone to a grocery store and people don't really even know what to do if the registers aren't working. But I guess they would have to figure out something eventually if we were without power for several days. But it's always a good idea to have some cash on hand, whether that's to barter with someone else that might have something you need, maybe to buy gas with, whatever the case may be. The other thing and the last thing I'm going to harp on is you definitely need to know the way to get out. So when you're evacuating, you need to make sure you know that evacuation route, and you definitely want to make sure you have enough gas in your car before a storm hits. So don't do it all last minute. Don't make it more stressful than it already is. Last but not least, I'm going to say do not panic. So every state seems to have some kind of natural disaster that you cannot predict, that you just have to be kind of ready for. We here in Florida, we've got the hurricanes. Other states will have wildfires or tornadoes or earthquakes. We just happen to have the hurricanes. What I like about the hurricanes is at least we know well in advance when they're coming, so we can be prepared, we can leave. I think that's definitely preferable over not knowing when something's going to happen, like an earthquake. Oh my gosh, when I lived in California, those freaked me out so bad. But the main thing, again, is not to panic. Now listen, if you've got any questions about any of this, I'm happy to talk with you about it. Florida, I love Florida. It's one of the most beautiful states in America. I would not move anywhere else, but you just do have to be ready for these natural disasters that can happen, and you've got to take those steps to be prepared. Now, please, again, if you are able to, I really highly encourage you to make a donation to any of those charities that I covered previously. I'll also put them down below in the comments, so you can just click the link to make a donation. Every dollar really does count. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you got some good, useful information out of this video, and I'll see you next time.